Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, Google, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
and Peter. Episode 54, recorded on January 8th, 2020. GCP puts the Cloud Pod on ice. Good evening, Jonathan and Peter.
Hey, Justin. Hey, Peter.
Hello.
It has been actually a quiet week, so I think we were worried about the avalanche unloading after the holidays, after our last episode recorded, but it's actually been a bit quiet. I think it's maybe because CES is going on in Vegas, and so they're a little busy and distracted, or Asia's still on vacation, or just given up the ghost. I'm not really sure. But I do suspect here, as we start heading into a few more weeks into January, we'll start seeing quite a bit more news. But we do have some stuff, and I have a story to tell you a little bit later, so we'll get into that. But first, it is CES, like I mentioned, and Amazon is there. They have apparently a automotive exhibit where they're highlighting several different use cases of Amazon Web Services technologies involved with smart cars. So first, it starts with the Alexa Auto SDK, and those capabilities that integrate into Amazon's machine learning. They have Cadillac there with the customer journey, which uses Zero Light and AWS. Rivian and Auto SDK integrations for their new electric truck. Lots of smart home garage capabilities integrating to the Amazon Pay, Fire TV, and the Ring system. Lots of IoT and ML use cases, and just overall a lot of really great practical use cases for machine learning and Amazon technologies. And I love these type of things because when you talk about AWS technology to layman's peoples, sometimes they don't really understand what you mean by QLDB and quantum ledgers and why that matters. But these are actual real-world examples you can give to people to help them understand what you do in the cloud in layman's terms, which I really appreciate. So a little interesting story here to kind of kick off the CES week to check out on Amazon and their technology integrations with vehicles, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, I've never made it to CES. Have either of you two?
I have never been. I thought I wanted to go, but I've done reInvent enough now that I know it.
Aye, fair enough.
I manned a booth there once.
Oh, wow.
Did you have booth babes or no?
It was with HP, so there were assistants who were not booth babes, but very good at getting leads into the machine, way harder than it is today just by scanning people. And it's funny because actually like 2 years ago at reInvent, I saw one of them working one of the booths at reInvent.
Yeah, I don't know much about CES. I knew that booth babes were a big problem. I appreciate that we don't have booth babes at tech conferences because I think it's really unnecessary, but for that purpose. But I always know that I saw pictures and stuff of big massive TVs, people in too little clothing, and lots of people. That's all the pictures I ever see of CES. So.
I'm kind of interested in the automotive SDK. I mean, it seems like an obvious choice to start implementing voice controls in vehicles, and I've obviously got a very mature voice recognition platform with Alexa, so it seems like a no-brainer.
I actually have one of these Alexas for my car.
Really?
That when they first opened up the beta program, I signed up for it, and they sent me one, and I've got to put it in my car. So you see how on top of the game I am.
I mean, I guess unless it's built into the car, it's not like it can control anything, right? I mean,
it connects to Bluetooth to your unit. So if you have Bluetooth in your car unit, then it can connect to that. Then you can just say, "Hey, Dingus, I need drive me home," or whatever. If you had an automated car, or give me navigation directions, whatever. It sounds on paper to be really interesting and potentially valuable. But yeah, I think it needs to be really embedded into the car to be really valuable. But at least if you want Hey Dingus type capabilities, that's available to you.
Well, I mean, who doesn't have a smartphone anymore, though? Who doesn't have a phone that can't respond to Hey Google or Hey Siri or something already without it having to be an extra thing? I don't know.
Again, I think it was a beta. I signed up. It was free. Well, I paid a small amount of money for it, but it was basically free to get into the beta, and I was curious, and so I think it's really a proof of concept to show you what you could do. It's not really meant to be a production level thing. I think even today, if I went to go buy this device, I don't think I can buy it still. I think it's still.
So does it have
access.
Like mobile connectivity built into it, or does it need like a Wi-Fi hotspot from the phone? Or something?
It does use Wi-Fi hotspot from the phone, I believe. So it does connect to the phone, does connect to the car via Bluetooth. I think eventually they're planning to have embedded into your car. Then you're using whatever car connectivity capability your vehicle has.
Well, nothing can be worse than the Kia's UVO software, so I would love to try it out.
If you want to come borrow it, I can find it for you, and you are more than welcome to borrow it.
I think it's more like a project that I'm probably going to hack something together with a Raspberry Pi and plug it into the diagnostics port and have it do cool stuff. Hey, Alexa, turn on the emergency brake.
Yeah, really.
Your car's more smart, anyways. You have all kinds of cool stuff in your car.
Yes.
A Tesla Model 3, so it has all the automatic things that make it special.
But they only just added. I mean, it had some kind of basic voice recognition built into it for some really limited use cases until very recently, and now we actually have like a voice-enabled keyboard, which is fantastic, and a much more natural language processing for it. So I think it's Alexa's still way ahead.
I've never actually been in your car where you've talked to your car, so I didn't think that was a thing. So clearly,
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait for that. I mean, we talk about distracted driving with the phones, but it's so distracting trying to use some of the new complex systems just to get to your radio in a new car. It's nuts. Especially, I think like Mercedes and BMW, while they were both going through their learning phases, I was driving other people's cars, just like, this is insane. I can't even operate. Like, I had to pull over to do something safely. It should all be verbal commands at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I've had verbal control for an Acura, and now I have it in my Volkswagen. And the amount of time I fight with it, trying to get it to just understand basic things. I'm not ready for this world. It's coming forward. Basic, simple things like increase the temperature, it messes up half the time. So
Yeah.
But it's all commodity technology that'll eventually get updated to be much better. Maybe if it'll get Alexa integrated or something like that, it'll be much better long term. So
I think what they really needs is constant connectivity to the cloud, so that they can update software constantly, or even just not run software locally and run all the recognition someplace else, and that way we can push out updates.
Well, that's part of the reason why I chose a car with CarPlay, because I felt it was future-proofing the technology in my car, because it's all tied to my phone at that point, and the phone is updated all the time, and they update CarPlay, and those updates come to my device, because it's just really a dumb display to my phone.
Awesome.
So, Peter, I assume that you guys might have some RDS databases at Foghorn.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess that they were created probably before January 7th of 2020.
Absolutely.
So you're probably going to need to go update some certificates. And this is because Amazon uses a intermediate CA certificate that is expiring on the March 5th, 2020. That is a 5-year certificate. So it's in the CA Certificate Bundle 2015. They have a new CA Certificate Bundle, CA 2019, that needs to be applied to your endpoints that are talking to RDS. So Amazon will handle your RDS update for you automatically between the February 5th and March 5th, or you can do it manually by going into the console or by making an API call through the CLI to the new certificate. But when that happens, if you haven't updated your CA, that'll become an invalid connection. And if you are testing that connection that it's secure, or doing any type of certificate validation, that will fail. So that'll be an outage.
Yeah, and not only am I getting the warnings for our RDS instances, I get them for about 30% of our customers' instances. So my inbox has been full.
I imagine that yours has, mine has been as well, and my TAM has been telling me very adamantly, hey, you have a plan for this, right? So
yeah, I think the messaging around it was, I know we got a message at the end of last year, October time, but it wasn't.
A message came out while we were at reInvent on December 3rd.
Was it that late? Okay.
Yes, the first one I saw was December 3rd, that this was going to happen in the new year, and I was at reInvent and not paying attention. So
yeah, I mean, I understand that certificates should only be valid for a fixed length of time, and 5 years is in the cloud world is really quite a long time. But oh, what a chore this is going to be. I did have to laugh though when Jeff Barr said that just all we have to do is switch the certificate bundle to gracefully shift to the new CA.
Yeah, his comment was you can install both bundles. So you can have the 2015 bundle and the 2019 bundle, and then you either just let Amazon do the update when they want to during a maintenance window, or you just wait till doomsday, then hope it all works.
Yeah, I mean, if gracefully is redeploying certificates to 200 accounts and rebuilding Docker images and redeploying pretty much every microservice we have, then yeah, I guess it's graceful.
Yeah.
That's not the word I would have chosen.
I feel like this is maybe a bit of an artifact because 2015, predates ACM, predates their own CA certificate. But I really feel like this is one where I wish they were using the Amazon root certificates to be the beginning of the trust tree. And then when they update these intermediate certificates, your system would automatically go check with this root CA that's valid, and then everything will be fine. The requirement to install these intermediate CAs seems like a choice that was made at a different time that maybe they wouldn't have made if they were doing it today. But it is interesting to me that there are a couple of regions that aren't impacted by this. So if you're in Hong Kong or the Bahrain region or the China region, this isn't impacting you. And if you're using Amazon Aurora Serverless, because it uses ACM to manage certificate rotations, you don't have to do anything there either, because that one uses the Amazon Certificate Authority because it's ACM. So you can see there's better ways they can do this. And so I'm hoping that they're getting some flack from their customers and some pushback that this is kind of ridiculous. And hopefully this will maybe be something that gets changed sometime in the future, because I think this is more painful than it really needs to be.
Yeah, I really wish they'd had more than one intermediate certificate, because adding a new service like DocumentDB only 12 months ago and then letting that certificate expire relatively quickly after customers have deployed this is really kind of painful.
Yeah, so I've been thinking through several different scenarios, and none of them are good for different reasons, right? So one of those, like, well, maybe they should just be issuing a new intermediate CA every year, but then you have the complexity of you now have to manage that across all these RDS instances and all your Amazon nodes, and like which one did you choose when you built that server, and that's kind of a hassle. If you did one per service, then every time they release a new service, there'd be a new certificate bundle you'd have to install as well to use the new service. So that's kind of also problematic. There's really, by using a single certificate intermediate CA, they kind of get away from this need to redeploy new certificate bundles all the time. And they can release new features and things like that being a problem for you to take adoption, but it now bites you in 2019 or 2020 when you're now updating all those certificates, because the 5-year certificate is about to expire. So,
kind of reminds me of have you heard about people with the 2020 problem now?
Yeah, I had heard a little bit about that. That apparently the hack they did for Y2K was just add 20 to the number, and that somehow magically fixed it for 20 years. And then they got the tech debt backlog, and then just never got done.
Instead of going from 2-digit to 4-digit, they interpreted 00 to 20 as 2000 to 2020, and 21 to 99 is 1920 to 1999.
Oh my God. That
gives us 20 years. It's fine. Plenty of time.
Just put it in the backlog. We'll get to it in 20 years. I guarantee it. No problem.
Well, to be fair, it did just seem like yesterday. I think I still have some stickers somewhere that say, the Y2K tested or something on it. It's pretty funny.
I am a little concerned because the problem, the thing about Y2K was that it got a lot of attention, it got a lot of investment, and a lot of COBOL engineers rehired to do work out of retirement. But the Unix epoch time problem is much worse. And I worry about that one a little bit more, because I feel like when we get closer to it, people are going to be like, oh, well, Y2K wasn't that bad. Everyone's just going to take care of it. It's no big deal. And I actually think it's much, much worse than
So that's rolling over the 32-bit.
Yes. Yeah, okay, 32-bit integer barrier.
Okay, we have 18 more years. Am I going to be retired by then? I don't know. I hope so.
I'm going to start playing the lottery more aggressively. AWS Private Link is now supporting private DNS names for internal and third-party services. So this was a bit of an issue previously. If you were using Private Link, you would publish your independent network load balancer in your account to another account that potentially could be yours or a customer's account. But that would give a unique DNS name that Amazon would use. So that may be problematic if your application is expecting your DNS name. And so now with this new capability, you can use your own DNS as part of the publishing process of the private link service. So this allows you to now publish that into someone else's VPC or your VPCs and still use the same DNS as prior, which is really nice. To get started, you need to specify the private DNS name during the service configuration and confirm your ownership. And then after that, it's simple as checking Enable Private DNS in the Endpoint Config window. And then use the DNS name you specified for that access. This is available in all regions except for China.
I'm really happy about this. It was one of the feature requests I made very shortly after Private Link was released, because I quickly realized that if you've got a web server sitting behind an NLB, this was before NLBs even supported SSL natively, then that certificate would be specific to one domain name, usually your public-facing API, and any customers that connected to it would have either certificate errors or would have to turn off validation for SSL, neither of which are good options. Or I guess the other option would be an NLB per customer endpoint, but that's even worse. I mean, but we talked to the team who implemented this, and their challenge was really all about how to ensure that somebody didn't kind of camp on another company's service. to stop you from intercepting traffic that was meant to go to Google.com or any other endpoint, really. So it's good to see they finally came up with a solution to validate in a similar way that ACM does, that you actually own the public domain. Yeah, I'm really happy about it. It's gonna change a lot of things for us. Most large organizations run 6 or even more monitoring tools. Each of them uses a mixture of data collection techniques from technology providers, open source communities, or custom integrations, and maintaining dozens of integrations across these tools can be a significant investment. Blue Medora introduces BindPlane, not another monitoring platform, but the industry's first monitoring integration as a service. BindPlane can gather data from over 150 technology data sources spanning your entire organization. Remove or reduce your reliance on expensive monitoring and SIM solutions by sending log data to Google Stackdriver, New Relic, or Azure Monitor. Check out the extensive list of integrations, all provided at no additional cost. Learn more and sign up for a free trial by visiting bluemedora.com/cloudpod. The link's available in our show notes, and as a bonus for CloudPod listeners, Blue Medora are offering Google Compute Platform credits to help get you started. BindPlane. Seamlessly stream hybrid cloud and on-premise metric and log data.
All right, Azure has been kind of asleep since Christmas, but their cloud cost management team is super active with a recap of 2019 and a look ahead to 2020. They wanted to highlight all the amazing cost management things they've done for you if you're using the Azure platform. And of course, they hear that this is a numerous problem from their customers, and I rarely hear that. So it's interesting that they think it's a problem. So maybe they're trying to get ahead of it, or maybe it is a problem for somebody, just not anybody I know. And in 2019, they announced several new programs and capabilities, including enterprise agreements, unified master customer agreements and cloud solution providers, Azure cost management, new portal capabilities, including charting, forecasting, integration into Power BI, ability to switch between currencies because everyone likes to see their Azure bill in yen. And then Power BI has offered a hybrid benefit report that will allow you to see costs on AWS and others. They did highlight some 2020 things that are coming down the road, including the ability to do things like split shared costs, so like your support costs. If you want to split those up across your accounts, they'll be able to do that kind of peanut butter spread, as well as kind of a weighting, as well as additional markup languages and additional portal improvements and hybrid capabilities as they add in GCP, in addition to AWS, to give you that one single unified cost management dashboard.
I did like their the dashboard when they released that earlier this year. In fact, I think we talked about potentially using it to analyze other clouds' spend as well. It was open enough.
Yeah, so they support AWS today, so they can pull on your AWS spend and your Azure spend and show you one portal.
Oh, that's so great.
And then they are adding GCP in 2020. But sometime later in the year, you'll be able to do all of your costs across all your cloud providers. Maybe not Oracle, but at least the big three. So.
Oracle, huh?
Oh, I have a story. We'll get there. All right, going on to Google. So you can now connect your Redis App Engine and Cloud Functions to your VPC. And so if you wish to access those resources from within your VPC with a serverless app, you can now do that. So that means they finally caught up to AWS functionality, which is great. Always appreciate it when Google crosses that chasm. Now available for all companies and regions. Serverless VPC access lets you access virtual machines, cloud memory store, Redis instances, and other VPC resources with support for Cloud Run coming soon. And I explained to you how this works, but if you know how it works on AWS, you already know. It basically attaches an ENI into your VPC, and that is a connection that allows you to access all those managed services in a sweet way. There is a minimum and maximum bandwidth capability in their offering, which between 200 and 1,000 megabits per second, and that is a limit you should be aware of if you're going to be using this feature.
It seems like something that didn't deserve an announcement, and they should have just snuck in stealthily and.
I think it would be better not to say anything. Yeah. Just like, oh yeah, it's just a checkbox. It's been there forever.
What do you mean? Yeah. What do you mean I couldn't connect these different services together? It's crazy.
Well, maybe there was a bunch of maybe they know a bunch of companies who said we're not moving to GCP until we get these features, and this is the way they're marketing it.
I think it'd be easier just to have the salesperson call.
Yeah.
I would assume you could have connected to those services through the public route rather than privately before, but now they're offering private connectivity.
Yeah, you only connected to them publicly before. Google has also released a new archive class of storage. This is designed for long-term data retention at a price point of starting at 0.0012 cents per gigabyte per month, or $1.23 per terabyte per month, because it's easier than fractions of a penny to talk about. This is a little bit more expensive still than Glacier Deep Archive, but also very competitive if you are in the Google place. This is best suited for the data that needs to be stored for more than a year and accessed less than once a year. I did look at the access data rights with Jonathan earlier, and to access this data, the cost for just basic get and put operations was over 100 times more expensive than the standard level. So in the standard level, it was like half a penny per 10,000, and in the archive class, if you're accessing the data, it's 50 cents per 10,000.
Wow.
So it's a significant cost jump if you need to access that data. So be aware of that before you go shove all your data into archive class storage.
I mean, the reality is, it's still very affordable.
Oh, it's still very affordable. It's just don't go put everything there.
No, a millisecond latency is way better than Glacier Deep Archive. So
yeah, that's true. It is relatively quick compared to Glacier Deep Archive.
yeah, I wonder if AWS will respond kind of with an improvement over their offerings to kind of meet this.
It's such a weird use case that I mean, the requirement to store the data for more than a year that you only access once a year, where you would care that you can't access it within a millisecond, seems pretty low. So it's a little odd. I don't know that it's a use case enough customers have, but if it is, then I'm sure Amazon will do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's for those really long tail type data sets where any one piece of it you need to get to very quickly, but very small percentage of it as a whole is accessed on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I was actually looking in Workday earlier at the tax documents and things for last year, stuff like that. And I guess that's a perfect use case, because I mean, how many times do you download a W-2? Like once, twice if you lost it the first time.
Yeah.
But when you do go for it, you do want it to be within a reasonable time and not 4 hours. So it's pretty cool. But it's very competitive price-wise, and storage like this is something which is really easy for you to move to another cloud provider. So we may find people using Google for storage for this deep archive service, but other clouds for their compute.
It's very possible. I mean, that's a use case you see some customers doing with GKE today, right? They're using GKE for their compute level stuff, but all their data storage is in S3.
Yeah.
Because S3 had a better solution to that for a while, and now Google's is catching up, and so maybe they make that pivot. But moving on to our last Google story, they have wanted to remind you that Google Cloud Next is coming up very quickly here in April. They happen to put it on my birthday, so I will be at Google Cloud Next, hopefully, on the 7th for my birthday. So I will celebrate there at the event. But this is April 6th through the 8th in San Francisco at Moscone once again. It costs you $16.99 unless you register before February 29th with a code that's going to be in the show notes, that you'll receive $500 off your full ticket. So that'll bring your ticket down to about $1,200. So do take advantage of that if you're interested in going to Google Cloud Next. Get on that before February 29th comes and goes, as you will not get a discount as good as that one as you progress through the year. Or try to talk to your sales rep and see if you can get some free ones, which you might be able to do. Google Cloud Next, of course, is an area to bring your global community of leaders, developers, influencers, and more to help you get inspired. And they highlight several things that you will learn or be able to ask while you're there. A little of them are a little basic, like how and when should I migrate my VMs? Or how can I develop apps once and deploy on any cloud? So there are definitely some interesting questions. I'm pretty sure that if you are going to Google Cloud Next, you probably are not asking how and when should I migrate my VM, but maybe looking for a little bit more. But definitely, I went last year. It was a great event. I recommend it for those who are in the Google Cloud space.
All right.
I'll probably be there.
I assume you will. You were there last year, I think.
Yeah.
We met up at one point. And we'll try to get Jonathan there this year too.
Hey everyone, Jonathan here. I just wanted to take a minute to thank the cloud consulting gurus at Foghorn for helping make the Cloud Pod possible. These folks truly get it. Cloud consulting experts since 2008, they are premier tier partners with AWS, Google Cloud Platform Silver, and Microsoft Azure partners. From multi-cloud to containers to moving full production workloads to the cloud under the tightest compliance, Foghorn's team of full-stack cloud engineers have been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt, and are ready to share their experience with you. If you're in the market for some talent to supplement your team, visit www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. www.fogops.io/thecloudpod. Foghorn.
The promise of cloud delivered.
So, when we put together the CloudPod show, I get a bunch of RSS feeds that you can also look at in the Slack channel if you're part of a Slack channel and go to the right rooms. But one of the feeds that we get is from Oracle, and so occasionally Oracle will announce something, and I look at it, and sometimes I'll include it in the show notes, sometimes I won't. Most of it's not really that interesting, but this one kind of caught my eye, and so I kind of went down a rat hole. I named the segment "Justin Does a Thing," and that thing is my adventures in Oracle Cloud. So the announcement, to kind of set the stage here, is cross-region boot volume backups for instant disaster recovery, migration, and expansion. A riveting headline. And Oracle is pleased to announce you can now copy boot volume backups of your compute instance between OCI regions. This is a great use case for DR and BCP, or migration and expansion. So going through this, it's pretty straightforward. You can take an EBS backup or a block volume, as they call them in Oracle Cloud, I learned, and you can do a backup of it, and then you can tell that backup to go to a different region, and you can recover from it. So this raises questions, as you all probably can think as you're listening to this. Can I not do non-boot volumes? Or were boot volumes just not available before, and I could do other volumes? And, of course, the article doesn't explain that to me, so the answer to that question is I have to go figure it out. So, it happens to be in this article, if you click on the link, that they will give you a $300 credit to go try this. Plus, Oracle has a really great free tier. So I was like, well, it's time to go sign up for the CloudPod Oracle account, as we should all have one, to go do these type of experiments. And so I headed on over to the Oracle Cloud website, which I had never really been to since Oracle Cloud World that I was at last year. And, I go through the form, fill out the information, the CloudPod, myself, here's my information. You need to add a credit card, so if you go beyond the free tier, we have a way to charge you, which I was a little bit skeptical about giving my credit card to Oracle, which is for good reason. And, so I hit the button, put my credit card information, and it comes up and says, session expired. You're out of luck. And I go, well, that's unfortunate. I wonder if my credit limit on my card is not large enough, because I don't have $1 billion credit limit. I'm sure that was a flag to Oracle that I shouldn't really be buying this product.
You forgot to put your lawyer's name on the application.
That's part of it, too. So, there's a chat button, chat with an agent. And I'm like, well, that'd be great. I would love to chat with somebody. Maybe they can tell me what I'm doing wrong or if there's a problem and I should try back later. So I click the chat button. It says you'll be able to talk to an agent in 2 minutes. And I'm like, well, perfect. That's not too bad. It's pretty good support. 2 minutes comes and goes, and it sends me to a message saying, there's no agent available. Would you like to leave a message for them to email you back about your problem? And you fill out that form and you hit submit, and it dumps you out of the webpage completely, losing all of your form information and all of your entry data. So then, of course, being a great CloudPod host that I am, I go to Twitter and I complain. And I had simple to Oracle, and actually the Oracle Twitter support is pretty quick. Within about 25 minutes, someone had messaged me back and saying, hey, it should be fixed now, you should try it again. And so when I arrived home from my office, I tried it again, and I was successfully granted access to the wonderful, amazing world of Oracle Cloud, as they did accept my credit card at that point. So apparently I was put on the whitelist or something else. They said, yeah, you should probably let that guy in.
They blacklisted you after what we said about them last year, probably.
I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Like a year or two ago, I tried to sign up for an account, and they said, check your email for login information, and in the email was something like, your email address is a personal email address. Please reply from a company address.
That's right.
So sales rep can contact you.
Yeah, that's right. No Yahoo addresses.
I can't.
No Gmail addresses. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I use my CloudPod email address, so I didn't have that problem. But I could see why that would potentially be a blocker. So
the credit card, why?
Well, you still have to give them a credit card. I mean, like that's standard cloud access. But
no, that's what I'm saying. Is if you already gave them a credit card.
Oh yeah, why would they care about you being a personal email account or a work email account? That is a little weird. I now have access to the wonderful world of Oracle Cloud, and I selected US West Phoenix as my region, which I have now locked into forever. It'll always be my one and only free tier region. So if I want to put any free Oracle databases in Europe, I am out of luck. I'll have to pay for those. But I can put my 1/8 of a processor database into Phoenix region, and I can go to town. So the first couple comments here, now that I'm in this Oracle Cloud, and I have pulled up the console for myself here. I know you can't see this, but this console is special. It's clearly designed by someone who used to work at Sun.
Oh no!
It is so hardware centric. that I was kind of blown away. Like there's definitely a concept of like platform as a service here. There's sort of a concept of cloud concepts, but for the most part, it's like compute, block storage, object storage, file storage, networking. That's the top level menu of core infrastructure. And then the next section is database, which starts with bare metal, VM, and Exadata databases, and then into the autonomous data warehouse, etc. So, looking at this, you're just like, wow, this is, an interesting design choice. It is very, very much focused on someone who does with hardware.
Yeah.
This is our, all the former compute team people I've ever had employed to me, all my VMware buddies, my networking friends, they would love this console because they would know exactly where to go with no questions asked. Unlike the Azure console where you spend 12 hours just trying to find VPCs. So I'm like, I'm going to create an instance. So you go to instances. You then realize that this console is designed for a computer that's probably a 5K monitor. Probably one of those new Apple XDR monitors because everything is big and blocky and massive size. And clicking on through the instance process, it's when you go create the new instance, you create it. You said, I want this much disk space. I want, I only want this much disk space on my boot volume, by the way. And I want, this number of CPUs and memory and all that kind of stuff. Very typical. But you can't actually add more you can't add more volumes at creation time.
Oh no!
It's not part of the wizard. It might be part of the CLI, and to be perfectly fair, I did not try anything with the CLI. This is all go through the GUI, and so that's sometimes problematic. But it has the basic things. But it automatically created for me a subnet and a network and all kinds of stuff. I have no idea what that looks like because I couldn't figure it out. And then they say you need to choose a SSH key or paste an SSH key into it, which is fun on a Mac because you can't just hit a choose files option to get to an SSH key because it's in a hidden directory, which they hadn't really thought about apparently. But anyways, so long story short, I get a server up and running, and then I'm like, well, I want to do a snapshot of it to try out this replication feature that I'm trying to answer this question for you guys because you're my listeners and I care. So you create the snapshot. The menu that's in the wiki article doesn't actually exist. It doesn't. There's supposed to be a button that says replicate snapshot to other region. That button doesn't exist for me now. My first thought was, well, maybe it's because I'm on a trial account, but I gave him a credit card and I have $300 credit, so I'm sort of like a little bit better than a free trial account. I'm a little bit higher up. So then I'm like, well, let me go try the other part of this project, which is to go figure out how to add cloud block storage to this, and then go from there. And so I have to go to the other menu, which is in the storage menu, to then go create a block object device. So I go create that, which is 50 gig drive is the minimum size I can do for that drive, 50 gigs.
Wow.
Is that in the free tier?
Hey.
It is in the free tier. So maximum I can do 100 gigs for the free tier.
Oh wow, okay.
In block, so that's fine. But that means I can only create 2 of them at minimum size.
Right.
Because you can't go. I tried to do like just 20 gigs because I didn't need a lot of space, but you can't do that. It's 50 gigs or nothing. So it creates that in a different screen. Now, one of the things I didn't mention, when you create the instance and you create the volume, it sits there and it tells you that it's creating the thing, but it doesn't actually use Ajax or anything to like refresh the page as you're waiting. And there's no refresh button on this page. So the only way to refresh this page to see the status of my instance is to actually hit refresh of the entire web page.
Command R.
Yeah, which is super awesome. So my disk finally finally completes, and there's a small little dialogue that says, if you want to make this drive part of your Linux instance and you want to add it to FS tab, you need to make sure you add no boot and one other command line parameter, which basically says, if the drive, and I'm like, well, that's a little weird. Why would that be a parameter? And then I actually look into the documentation of how I have to now attach this block object item to my server, and it's iSCSI. So they have a whole set of commands I have to run to attach this iSCSI volume to my instance, and then because it's iSCSI, and the iSCSI driver will start up after my Linux box is already up and running, I potentially could make it unbootable Linux box if I don't properly put it into FS tab.
Nice.
Wow.
Which is a little bit of a painful experience, and again, as a Sun engineer, makes perfect sense to me because I'm a hardware guy and I understand that, but as a cloud developer, that's a bad experience. I don't know that a developer would necessarily understand what they're talking about, what FS tab is, or any of that. And there's really not really a lot of good documentation on their site or good links to more documentation to explain how to actually do it in Oracle Linux. So I had to do some research on some of that. But but anyways, so again, I have this volume. I attach it to the Linux box. I go use my SSH key. I connect to my server. I mount it to iSCSI. I put it into fstab. I test a reboot. All that stuff to see that works. Works all really well. The graphical UI for metrics around monitoring is actually kind of nice. They did a nice job on that. It's a little bit delayed in the refresh because, again, they didn't use Ajax to refresh that data very quickly. And so you would be like, well, I've just ran a really large stress test on that box. That CPU should be pegged. And then you realize it's behind by like 12 seconds. And then it'll like sort of refresh. And all of a sudden, if you see your CPU go from nothing to 100%, which is kind of cool. It could be a little bit more real time in my experience. But again, I create a snapshot of my new object block. And again, that one also does not say that I have the ability to replicate that to another region. So now I'm thinking, well, no, I can't. Obviously, I can't replicate a block object to any region, apparently at all. And this entire article is a lie, which can't possibly be true, right? And it's not. I did finally figure out that you have to go to the console list, and you have to go manage your regions, and you have to add a second region.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Actually, no, to be fair, I like that. I like that you have to enable a second region deliberately.
I do like enabling a second region. Now, I enable the second region, and I go back into the object that I want to replicate. Now, in the boot and in the external block object, they now both have the box that exists and the documentation, which is great. And when you click into that box, it opens up and it says, if you don't see the region that you're looking for, click this button to go manage your regions. Which only works if you've already enabled another region, which if you're using the free tier, you haven't done. So there's a bit of a challenge in how this works. So again, it was a fun time, but I can confirm for both of you that, and our listeners, that yes, you can apparently used to be able to only replicate object block storage that you attach to your instance via iSCSI to other regions. And now you can now do your boot volume.
That's really interesting.
So you're welcome. You now have an actual DR solution inside Oracle if you are doing this. So
you can make fun. You can make fun of it, but we should all start getting used to it because that is the next gen cloud.
It is. It is.
You can make fun of it as much as you like, but I actually wish Amazon EBS would let you attach via iSCSI.
I think that's fine. I have no issue with really any of this other than it's not very dev friendly. I don't mind this iSCSI, but nowhere in the creation process does it indicate to you that you're creating an iSCSI volume, so that this is something you'd have to do.
That's interesting.
Until you go back into the workflow to find that set of instructions. Because I was like, well, I don't how do I mount this? Because what's the endpoints and all that for the iSCSI endpoint? Because you have to tell where the iSCSI server is. So you had to go back into the block object to drive. You have to click into it, and then it gives you a bunch of metrics about it and all that kind of stuff. And then there's up in the right-hand corner, kind of where the help is, there's a little Linux connection instructions. And then you click into there, and you get all the commands, and you can copy-paste the commands into your SSH from there. But it's definitely one of those areas where so maybe this whole idea of not having Oracle have access to your servers is not so great, because an agent could do this for me without me having to think about it and make this a little bit easier. But that would violate that whole idea of that Oracle can't touch your data.
Yeah.
I mean, I presume that even the boot volume is actually iSCSI, but it's mounted by the hypervisor. And I would imagine the same thing happens with EBS volumes with AWS, although they may not use iSCSI, they probably use something more proprietary. But of course, sure. the big problem with this is now your disk I/O is sharing the same network connection as all the rest of your I/O.
And it is, yes. And so that is actually something you can do. You can add additional network cards to servers, I noticed, which is probably very much tied to the ability to address that particular problem.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely a lot of interesting things, and it was definitely good to see they have auto scaling, they have pooling, they have placement group concepts already in place. But overall, I think it's a good starting place. It definitely shows how far they are away from the bigger players, and why they've thought very much from an infrastructure Oracle perspective how to solve a lot of problems. They haven't thought about it from, how to just make this simple APIs, I think, and it's interesting. But I do agree with you. I think an iSCSI option would be nice on Amazon. I don't mind that this is iSCSI. I just wish that it wasn't quite so opaque as you went through the process that that's what you were doing. And then the fact that, they throw all these warnings up about your FS tab and all these things. Again, if you had an Oracle agent that talked to the cloud APIs, it could know that, and it could you could automatically have it do these things with FS tab and different things to make sure you don't run into that problem. Because now you're relying on a dev person who's spinning up this instance to actually do it correctly, which I think is risky.
Yeah, it'd be super easy to have an agent that starts on boot and queries the metadata of the instance and says, hey, what do I need to mount, and mounts it for you, instead of having to mess around with the FS tab file. So there you go. We got a potential product you can sell to Oracle right there.
Yeah, definitely. So that's Justin does something. It was fun. I enjoyed myself. My foibles. I'm sure that the initial getting signed up for the account was just an unfortunate timing incident where they were having some problem with their payment gateway. Those things happen. Hug ops. But going through the rest of it and trying to follow along with the documentation and this very clear guideline of there should be a button that says copy to this other region. Was a bit opaque. I did notice also that they have like backup schedules. So Oracle gives you 3 predefined backup types. So they call them bronze, silver, and platinum, I believe, with different snapshot retention schedules. That's already built into it. You can create custom versions of those. So if you want a snapshot every 20 minutes, you can set that up, or and then also included the roll off of those snapshots. So not only did it include the creation, I want a snapshot every day, plus a full on the weekends. I want to only have 5 of the fulls, and I only want to have 10 of the snapshots. So it gives you a lot of flexibility, which is great. And if that all is tied back to code that actually does things, that's kind of nice. Because how many years did it take for Amazon backup to become a thing?
Yeah,
about 13.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I think looking at the console, looking at what the capabilities are, seeing how they did this, it's very clear that Sun history has a lot of impact on how they design Oracle Cloud, which is good, which means you're getting a really high class hardware underlying it. You're getting really solid networking and storage concepts behind it. I don't think the developer experience is quite where it needs to be, but it's good to see what's coming along. I have this free account. I spent a penny. I'm not sure where that penny went in my trial. But it probably when I activated the other region to do the test, because that's not part of my free region. I have a provisions being network, so I'll keep an eye on my bill because I don't want to pay for anything if I don't have to. But overall, it was a fun time. And if you have any curiosity, you can get your free tier. Just don't enable that at second region. Once you do, you might have some additional spend. All right, Peter, take us into the lightning round after that riveting Oracle story.
This is going to be lightning fast, short, lightning round. Here we go. I ended up introducing AWS Systems Manager Change Calendar to get your change windows going.
I knew they were going to do this 3 weeks ago.
I was gonna have it mentioned at Christmas time, but we were in the change freeze. So
awesome. Amazon Comprehend launches multi-label custom classification.
Again, if you want to know that your medical issues were classified as cancer, and cancer, then you're good to go with a new capability.
Amazon SES now lets you use your existing IP address ranges to send mail.
Oh man, that means I have to use my own IPs to get blacklisted? It was so much better to blacklist Amazon's.
Curse you.
Speaking of blacklisting, you should sign up for the newsletter if you haven't done so. And get onto our CloudPod newsletter, which is actually really great. Not blacklist worthy, but
yeah. Amazon QuickSight launches new analytical functions, Athena Workgroup, and Presto VPC
and
connector support.
No one uses QuickSight.
I'm going to give it another try there, Justin. I'm going to give it another try. Maybe
it might be time. You never know. I want to try it as well. I even downloaded the QuickSight app on my phone, and I was all excited, and then I've yet to get to it. even in the doldrums of the last 2 weeks of December, where I had all this free time to do other things, and I worked on self-assessments and reviews instead of doing that. So,
if you look at the analytical functions that they support now,
they do a lot. They do.
I would love to see somebody's use case where they need natural logarithms or square roots of metrics data. So, interesting. Somebody obviously has a fantastic use case otherwise.
And finally, Amazon Translate introduces batch translation.
As long as it can help me understand Larry Ellison's keynote every year, I'm happy.
What are we translating from to English?
Gibberish.
Well done. I can't top that.
The race to the blacklisted IP was going to have it until the
gibberish.
the king got put down.
Excellent.
The
That was
gibberish.
impressive. Yes.
Yes, for the first time in
Jonathan is ahead.
Ever, I think.
Ever.
1-0, Jonathan. I'm
excellent.
coming for
I
you.
have infinitely more points than you do this year.
Well, thank you guys. It's been another great week here at the Cloud Pod, and we will be back next week with hopefully Azure woken up by then and given us something interesting to talk about.
All right. See you both next week.
Cool.
See ya.
See you then.
And that is the Week in Cloud. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Foghorn Consulting and Blue Medora. Check out our website, the home of the Cloud Pod, where you can join our newsletter, Slack team, send feedback, or ask questions at thecloudpod.net, or tweet us at #thecloudpod.